Yo, 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 what's up, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to yet again another fantastic indie creator interview. It's your Cape Crusader Cody, and we are keeping it geekly with our new friend Isaac Fox. We're here to break down SuccuBUSTED Issue 2, Lusty, Guardian, Rita, and everything in between. Welcome to the stream. How are you doing today, man?
Thank you. I'm well. A little tired, long night, but ready to knock this out. And
Dude,
I'm being attacked by cats.
Absolutely. Those long nights, early mornings, they catch up to you, but we are here. We're here to break down an awesome, brand new Kickstarter campaign. It is New Comic Book Day. What a fantastic start. Before we begin, though, Isaac, give us a little bit about who you are and how you got into creating comics.
Well, like my name says, I'm Isaac Fox. I'm technically the president of the Actual Ticket Corporation, which sounds fancier than it really is. But these days, I'd like to say I'm a comic writer, but sadly, comic writing is about 5% of my actual job these days. Everything else is spreadsheets, budgeting, managing, reviews, you got meetings, and all that other fun stuff you get to do when you have a business. I started in comics about 5-ish years ago as a writer. I'm just independent. I've never worked for Marvel or DC, sorry. So I don't have those credentials. But I started off with a series called Cremisi, which was a passion project for me. It was about alcoholism and PTSD, things that I personally have dealt with in my lifetime. And it turned out I really enjoyed comics and making them and working on them. I'd reading them for years, but I was really big into comics and manga, and getting a chance to actually work in it was just fascinating and amazing. And I still can't believe people like the crazy ideas that come out of my mind. So it just keeps me to keep wanting to do better and better. And that's one reason I credit our current campaign doing what it does, because we're always pushing ourselves every campaign to do better than last time for the backer, for the reader, for you guys.
Mm-hmm. I really love how you said you started this as a passion project, but then ended up only being like 5% of what you do is actually comic writing. I think that's hilarious, but it goes to show you how many different hats you have to wear as a creator to make your brand like really take off.
It is. It's if you're trying to actually make comics yourself or whatever as your own publishing company, what you're going to find is a tremendous amount of work that you yourself have to do that is not anything you ever thought you'd have to do. The skill sets that I've acquired from doing this are things that I didn't know how to do prior to that I never thought I'd end up doing myself. Mm-hmm. And one of those big ones being spreadsheets and learning how a lot of different taxes work. And that part's not fun. So once you learn that one, be prepared. The tax part hurts a lot.
So give us a little bit about that first comic that you came out with. I mean, suffering from not only, post-traumatic stress disorder, but also alcoholism. Two heavy hitters. That sounds like such a like a dark kind of story to get into.
It is. Cremisi is definitely a little more serious of a universe. It does have some boyish charm to it in the sense that the main character is kind of very much inspired by the 90s era of space westerns, being Trigun, Cowboy Bebop, and
love Trigun. Oh god,
Outlaw Star was my favorite anime ever, and that's what I wanted to do, was create something kind of like that. I was really inspired by it, and in a lot of ways, Cremisi is a love letter to Outlaw Star, mm-hmm. but it has a lot of personal assets or things added to it, such as that story deals with a lot more heavy issues than just that. It also goes into abandonment issues, anger issues, abuse. Some other evil things like prostitution and a character who may or may not have had been a child prostitute, things like that. Not a lot of happiness meant for it, but it's not really supposed to be a story about that. Part of the reason I wrote Cremisi was because I wanted to show characters that suffered from heavy mental afflictions or potentially scars that they get from a weary life. Mm-hmm. And kind of help people see like those conditions don't define somebody as a person, that they can be beaten, that you can get through it. And they do that, of course, through more perhaps fantastical means of Cremisi, mm-hmm. where we're fighting space pirates and sentient alien infections and other crazy things. That story, I grew up on old westerns and then going into Outlaw Star and seeing a story where it was about a guy who wasn't born special. He didn't have this special power. His parents weren't somebody famous. He wasn't inherently the main character, as we see in a lot of other really fantastic animation. Although Dragon Ball Z, Goku was kind of destined to be the main guy no matter what. Mm-hmm. So that's great, but I can't become Goku. But this guy, he's just a regular guy. I could be like him.
Yeah.
So I really kind of focused on just a guy going out into the universe on basically an adventure with his friends. And that, for me, as a childhood, was very violent, I'll put it that way. That very much was like just the most amazing thought ever. Like, oh, that's just, you could just go out there and just do that. So I kind of want to help recreate that, because for me, that 90s era of Toonami, when Outlaw Star, Bebop, and all were first kind of hitting the shores of the States, that kind of stuff helped me get out of a lot of really bad places in my life. So I'm kind of hoping that, I'm more than kind of hope, I really hope that the comics I create, even for me being a darker story, can kind of do that for somebody else. If somebody else out there's having that bad time, they can just crack open a comic and, at the very least, a little bit of escapism to help the mind calm down and recover. If I could inspire somebody to help tackle their demons, or if it's just they want to look at sexy demons and SuccuBUSTED, that's fine. If I can help somebody out in that way, that's fantastic. That's why I'm here.
So, I mean, let's talk about SuccuBUSTED a little bit. This is an ecchi comedy. My apologies if I mispronounced that. I think I got it right, though.
I think you got it. I think you're good.
An interesting story as well. How did you end up like finding your way, from a darker story about, post-traumatic stress and alcoholism to a story of this nature?
Well, I always wanted to do a succubus story. I didn't know how it was going to be. I'm like, I want to do one on a succubus. Something about the aspects of demons that are just made of lust was interesting. Beyond sexy, of course, but that's a pretty obvious attribute. So I wanted to do a story like that, and it was explained to me at the time, like, hey, you should probably do more than one series if you're going to try to actually get out there and do this as your job. So, okay, you're probably right. So I went to work and figured out a few ideas, like, well, what can I do with an actual succubus story? And we started getting requests from backers on Kickstarter asking if we would ever put more nudity in the book or create a book that was more about that. Well, I like succubuses, and they like being naked, so what can I do with that? So I kind of just sat down I don't know how the story came to me. I wish I could tell you. It was probably an amalgamation of factors. I don't know how I get the inspiration that I do. I've heard people say like they get writer's block. I've never had that in my life. My problem is I don't have enough time to write down all the stories and ideas that I actually have.
You can't shut it off.
No, it's if I'll sit there and I'll read like a new comic or watch new anime, read a new manga, and I'm like, oh, that's a really cool thing. And then my mind will be like, hey, that's a cool thing, but here's another cool thing you can think of. And just kind of start firing off ideas. And SuccuBUSTED was inspired a lot by the ideology for me of, what if we had a succubus, which is an embodiment of lust, didn't have a big chest, and then this character was born, and that kind of helped me shape the universe and what she would be doing. Okay, great. Because every time you see a succubus, again, demon of lust, they're always very voluptuous, busty, mature. Well, look, we had one that was really kind of small-chested and impish and insane. So I started working from that. I took a lot of inspiration from Men in Black. This is a similar kind of concept, only with, instead of aliens, it's demons. And along with some of the most famous ecchi that are out there, like High School DxD, which is mostly demons, or Monster Musume, one of my personal favorites because it is absolutely hilarious, or my absolute favorite ecchi of all time being Heaven's Lost Property, or Soro no Otoshimono, where you have a bunch of characters who are incredibly sexy with actual round character development that just plays out really well, with fight scenes that make Dragon Ball Z look bad. Well, I want to do something like that. I want to make one that's more than just boobs and butts in your face, but there's more to it. I was able to do that with SuccuBUSTED, wherein I don't force this down your throat, so it's a message you don't have to see if you don't want to. If you want to see it, it's there. Where it kind of tackles the idea of how in our society we claim to be free, but we're very judgmental on who people choose to love. We use the analogy of humans and demons, but you can interpret this as same-sex couples, mixed-race couples, trans couples, etc. Well, you can kind of use that analogy if you want to see it in there. If you don't want to, you don't have to. And I think that's kind of a good way to tell the message, because nobody wants to open a comic for fun and be preached to. Well, maybe somebody does, but I don't think the majority of our readers want to do that. It's like, well, if I can fit a message, even if I'm going to do a book that has a bunch of nudity, it has to have some kind of heart or message to it. Cremisi does, Pure Intent does. Oh, and it doesn't really, as Foxy Vacations, the series we do, but it's just a book is mostly just naughty pinups from guest artists. So I don't really know how I could put a positive message in that, but SuccuBUSTED has, you could say it's an ecchi with some heart to it.
Speaking of a lot of heart, let's go ahead and pull up the Kickstarter and check out all the heart that went into that. I know I was checking out earlier, and man, this Kickstarter just looks phenomenal. So let's go ahead and pull it up right now and check it out. Oh yeah, I heard creating one is a battle all in its own, but then you have to worry about like promoting it as well, and that just seems like endless stress.
It is, and I've given panels conventions before about how to do Kickstarter and what to expect, And it's one of those things where you have to know when to just kind of like take your hands off of it.
Hmm.
And then you have to know when to just kind of give it a metaphorical kick in the butt. And it's the timing is such a important factor in that. And the only way you can ever learn how to do that is to just do this over and over. And eventually you'll learn like when these kind of things tend to happen. Definitely follow a trend. They're kind of a roller coaster.
Hmm.
And there are certain days and times of your campaign you can expect certain kinds of activity, all the way from a massive rush of people and your numbers going way up to a certain point where you're going to have a massive amount of cancellations and decreases. And when you first encounter that cancellation and decrease period, you're going to feel really, really bad and you're going to be really upset. And I'm giving you a warning and ahead of time, you're going to feel that way because I've been doing this for 5 years and I still do when it starts happening. Crap, what do I need to do? And the answer is, dude, sometimes the best thing to do is nothing. Just don't touch it. Give it some time. It's a totally organic process. And it's gonna metaphorically bleed a bit before it gets better.
No,
Kind
absolutely.
of like any woman.
So we are looking at SuccuBUSTED issue 2, Lusty Guardian Rita, a ecchi comedy following the lust-fueled adventures of Rita the succubus as she enforces the law on naughty demons, LGBTQ friendly. Currently at $27,674 of a $4,200 goal. Holy crap! Like quadrupled it. Like killing it. Like, man, 445 backers with 13 days left to go. So just over that halfway mark. Man, how do you feel? We were talking about this earlier, just absolutely killing it.
It's kind of nerve-wracking. It's definitely I sleep a little bit better at night knowing that I have this. But my thing is, I look at this and I go, okay, that's 27, that's 445. That's 445 people that I have to make sure I make happy. And people that I have the opportunity to make happy. And it's kind of a privilege in and of itself to get to do that. And I'm going to look at this and go, all right, I have 445. How do I get 446?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to keep doing that the entire time. And you kind of have to have that insatiable hunger to continue to grow in order to do this. I think that's one reason why some of the bigger creators on here who make 100K plus a turn keep coming back, because it's that hunger. It's okay, 100K now, 101K next time. Those guys are going to keep going for that. And that's totally understandable. It feels amazing to know that there's people who actually like what it is I do and what I try to bring to the world. It's humbling at many times. I don't consider myself to be especially successful or better than anybody else by any measure.
Mm-hmm.
I see this as, okay, I have 445 people. I need to make them happy, make sure the comics are good for them, and all the little goodies we have are good for them. But then I look at this and go, well, more people are getting exposure to the artists that I work with, like Mitsu Blinger, who's the book's lead artist. Krias came in this time as our chief colorist. Antoinette Bueno colored the first issue and part of the second one. She's fine. She had to step away for personal reasons, but she's okay. She actually did some other stuff for this campaign because she didn't have time to do the full colors. She did some other stuff for us in the meantime.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, it's an opportunity when these do well like this to not only get something good in people's hands, but to help my people out as well, my artists, and help get them out there and show them that, hey, people like your work. Look at this. People, look what you're doing. This is amazing. Because I know I suffer from this, and a lot of artists do as well. The old imposter syndrome, where you feel like you don't deserve what you have.
Mm-hmm.
I get that all the time, and I know for a fact many artists do. I think it's a common thing in the creative world. Like you're like, no, I don't deserve this. I didn't really do anything valuable. But if I can kind of make my artists eat those words by saying, look, people like your work. People are happy about it. Look at the joy.
Yeah.
Look at these comments. People love this. Then I think it's part of my job, and it's just a blast to get to do that.
So this book is already finished, right? It's already completed?
Yes. So if our company has a Kickstarter, that book is already done. All covers, all interiors, coloring, line art, inking, everything is done except for actually getting it to the print shop, because I can't do that until, well, we have a Kickstarter that's finished. We don't physically have copies of every book just lying around. I do have some. I mean, over here, nice. Oh, I can just do this. Like I have a few copies lying around. Here's what the interiors look like, by the way, for SuccuBUSTED #1. And you can expect that same kind of quality and high gloss and pretty shininess right there in the second issue. But the Kickstarter will allow us to physically print the book. So that's when we send it out and get it back. Mm-hmm. The unfortunate is that, as I'm sure every other creator you have talked to has probably complained about, and rightfully so, that the global paper shortage has massively impacted our production times. Where that's why SuccuBUSTED 2 here says its fulfillment date is set to May. Reality of it is, I can probably get it out way sooner than that, but because of the global paper shortage, it taking 1 to maybe even 3 more months longer than normal to get a book actually printed and in our hands. We estimate way far out so that nobody feels slighted. Don't want backers to feel like we took the money and ran. I've seen a lot of campaigns that do that. If you do that, there is no torture in hell good enough for you, bad enough for you, in my opinion, because you people's trust in their money. We keep our backers updated the entire step of the way. I may not be as fast as some of the bigger groups, as I myself do all the packing and shipping, which is why this is kind of cordoned off behind me here, is because that's where I pack and ship all the books. So there's a ton of Cremisi #2 behind me with Gemini mailers and other fun stuff. That doesn't look very photogenic.
So here are some of the interiors, and this is so gorgeous. I'm loving what I'm seeing here, especially this fight sequence right here. You have this dude going up against this huge muscular horned beast, the triple fisting. That's hilarious. I love it.
As it is an ecchi comedy, we don't want to be dishonest about what the book is. And I've read comics or manga that are very much fan servicey books, but try to act like there's something else. Like, well, no, this is a fan servicey book that's about lusty demons and the things that they can get into. So if it can have an adult innuendo to it, we'll go ahead and let it have that. So the triple fisting became part of that. The interior of the book does have a significant amount of nudity and a lot of the common tropes of ecchi, whereas, oh no, I fell over and for some reason my skirt went all the way up and now the entire world can see my butt. There's a lot of that. But in Rita's case, as a succubus, she's really into that, so it's not a big deal.
And for everyone watching, right there is the link in the comments. Be sure to check this out. It's New Comic Book Day, and be sure to back. If you can't back, simply sharing this on Facebook, Twitter, anywhere that has a comment section. Excuse me. Word of mouth is 100% free, and getting this book out as far as possible is, what we try to do here. So please feel free to share this everywhere you can.
Yeah, that's a huge help. Just sharing something is a massive help. A huge problem Kickstarter creators run into is getting eyes on their work. There are so many projects on Kickstarter that are amazing that don't get a lot of attention solely because they aren't getting it in front of enough people. Probably myself included in reality. And it's marketing is by far the hardest thing you're ever going to do. It's trying to figure out, how do I get this to people who like it? Where do I find my audience? Who is my audience? These are all things that can be maddeningly difficult to figure out. I will say, if you click that logo, that icon right there, you don't have to do it for here, but anyone who goes to the campaign and does that, you can actually click on that and download a free sampler pack that has, I think, 2 or 3 pages of every book we've done, along with a nice little description of what those books are about. Now, that sample pack is censored, so that if you are looking for the naughty stuff, well, you can see them, but they're censored for that because anybody can download that, and we're not going to make that kind of content available to underage individuals. We did a thing this time we called Trick or Treat. Well, we know what that is, but some of the tiers this time have what we call treated, which is where if you see this little jack-o'-lantern icon, that means that tier for this campaign only is actually marked down in price. We discounted it for only this campaign. That discount will never happen again. And like the Backer's Choice cover was discounted this time. We don't normally charge so little for that. But for this campaign only, we've marked it down a little bit. I think we have 3 of those left to sell. That's one of the most innovative tiers we ever offer.
Blacklight special medal. That's cool. I've seen the medals, but not a blacklight special one. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's our print house showed us a bunch of samples of it where they can actually print a book on metal, and the UV light will make it really just kind of like, it's almost like a glow in the dark, but even more poppy, I guess you could say. So like, well, we'll shoot people to think that. We'll try that. So we decided to do it with this. When we do the Backer's Choice covers, it's the individuals who back it are allowed. What they get to do it post-campaign is, if you backed it, you get to vote on what characters on that cover, and you get to vote from a pre-selected list of sexy cosplays that character can wear. We do some cosplay covers here and there, but I normally don't put our characters in outfits from Marvel or DC, in part because I live in Disney's backyard, and their lawyers are very aggressive, and because I don't want to find. I have heard stories of how aggressive Warner Bros. Lawyers can be, so I don't really want to find that out. So I don't dress anybody up that way. But when we do the Backer's Choice covers, those cosplays are available, since we only make 10 of that cover and only 10 ever. So if you back that, you're getting one of 10 that's guaranteed to never go into print ever again.
So here are some of the reward tiers. We have the digital PDF download at $5.
Mm-hmm.
We have a nice variant at 10.
You'll be here for a while reading all these tiers off.
Yeah, I'll sprinkle.
I was going to warn you, like, yeah, if you're going to do that, you're going to be a while. There's like 36 tiers, I think.
Yeah, what we'll do is we'll just scroll through. There's a decent amount of variants, but right here's a nice one too. So we have the digital deluxe PDF download. Mm-hmm. So give us a little bit about this deluxe download and what's included within it.
Inevitably, every campaign, we get a plethora of emails saying, hey, can we get all the covers and digitals? And the reality of it is, no, you can't. And that is because of contractual reasons that are sometimes above my head. Even I can't control that. Or for other factors that I'm obligated to be bound by. But so what we do is I figured out if we can take a certain of them, and there's a few of them I get able to negotiate this on, and we'll make them available in a digital format with the naughty covers, because a lot of individuals want to get their hands on those particular covers, but the digital one is literally just the digital basic. It's the A cover, just the standard, everything to it. And if you want to read the book, boom, there you go. That's digital standard. But if you want the book and you are someone who likes to be kind of a virtual cover collector, or you think maybe some of the other covers are more to your taste, we have that for the digital deluxe with the ones I'm allowed to make digital.
Mm-hmm.
And every tier we do is also available as an add-on. Kickstarter really needs to implement an ability to just hit copy and paste over rewards to add-ons, and you can't do that right now. So you have to manually recreate every tier twice.
Oh no, that was probably tedious, huh?
That's why I say it takes me about 1 month to make an entire Kickstarter. That's when we step up to bat for Kickstarter, I'm spending a month making the graphics, figuring out the prices, negotiating what I have to charge for everything. And then figuring out what tier is going to be what combos are available, and every other thing you see on there, from making the actual graphics to writing up the little descriptions in the sub column on the side there. So no, you can't just go ahead. I'm sorry.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. What's bleached mean? Is that just another like censor?
No, I don't know what you mean. There's no way that's talking about a very famous anime that just came back.
Okay, I gotcha. All right.
I don't know anything about that because, again, some lawyers can be very aggressive. So I don't know. There's no way.
See, that's what I thought, but I wasn't exactly sure. I was like, okay, hold on. Let me ask this real quick.
It's just they're cosplay covers. I'm not going to say from what, but I think it won't take more than about 2 seconds to figure that one out. So that was okay for the Bleach ones. We saw that Bleach was coming back, and that was an anime that really, when I was writing on Kremisi, when I first started doing that, Bleach actually helped me figure out ways I want to do that universe. And I like a lot of Kubo's ideas where he's like, I just want to be cool.
Let me ask you this though. You have a lot of variant covers, and sometimes people will, say like, you don't want to have that many, but in your experience, like, do you think having a large amount of variant covers like helps?
That's kind of a hard question to answer because the answer is yes, and the answer is also no. It helps. It can help if you are perhaps in tune with what your backers like to get from you. Yeah. In our case, we have so many on this run in part because, well, 2-factor reasons. One reason being that we've done this for a while, and we've learned certain tastes that various backers have. Mm-hmm. So we try to offer a little bit of everything to appeal to those tastes. Now, admittedly, SuccuBUSTED 2 wound up with more covers than I initially wanted. And that was mostly because I happened to run into artists who specialized in things that SuccuBUSTED would be good with. When I work with artists, I'm a firm believer that as a reader, when you pick up a book and open it up or leave a look at the cover, you can feel when that artist cared what they were doing. They really enjoyed it, like that character. And when they said, okay, I just want to get paid and be done. I don't want to deal with this. I don't like this book. You can kind of feel that, I feel like, as a reader.
Yeah.
Feels many times there. So I try to give the artists things that they like. So if I come to some artists, like working with a new gentleman now who likes to draw butts a lot. So you like butts. Okay, so I got characters. We think of this character because she's like Rita here, who is small chested but has a huge posterior. Like, oh, I love that character. I want to do that. Cool, gotcha. I can give you that character then. And I just kind of ran to people like that who had specialties and preferences, and I want to give them their preferences and specialties because that means they're going to like it the most. And I think as the consumer or the reader, you're going to feel that energy in the book when you open it up, when you have it in your hands. No,
that is awesome. And yeah, I just wanted to ask because, like with printing and everything, the paper shortage and everything, having a lot of variants, that has to add up at some point, right?
Yeah, that's where I say it's kind of a double-edged sword. Like it
Mm-hmm.
can be helpful, yes, but it can make the printing cost a little more expensive. Usually, most print shops will charge you a $10 extra charge per variant cover you have. So each one of those is additional $10 to the budget, which doesn't sound like much, but I promise it adds up pretty fast.
That would add up. I was expecting I thought they would make you do like entire like runs with it. I didn't think it would just be $10 though. So
No,
that's not as bad as I thought,
helps.
but that's still. I mean, how many like when you have like 10 variants, that's an extra $100, right?
It is, exactly.
Yeah.
So you have to take that into account if you're going to do things like that. I actually ended up pulling a lot of covers that were going to be on this run off of this run and decided to use them for issue number 3, which is almost completed, by the way. It'll come out next year. And some of these were covers that I had done, I've had in the vault for about a year or two. And the artists want to know, well, when can we release the art? Like, well, I'm putting on the book at the end of the year. I get to the end of the year, like, well, have several of these artists who've done this who want to release the art for their own Patreons, their own fans, or what have you. I said, well, okay, well, I have to use it then. These are artists who need to get this out, but we got to do it.
I love that. That's awesome.
We try to take care of anybody we work with. We're pretty good about that. Our artists are taken good care of, and I don't see myself as the boss most of the time. I see myself as the assistant to them, really.
Mm-hmm.
I might be applying the script and everything, but I mean, they're the ones who I think are the real magicians, so to speak.
You weren't joking too. Right here, this is the end of the tiers, I believe. 34 of them. That is a monstrous amount, and this one is such a heavy hitter. So give us a little bit about this one. There's only 2 of these tiers available.
There's more than 34 now. That's just they're ordered by price. Yeah, kind of. When you have a lot of covers, one thing we do is, because we have so many covers, we create different combos. If you actually add up the price of the books individually versus the combos are cheaper. And we do that to try to help people out and make them not have to spend as much money. I don't want somebody to choose between buying a cool thing or having a good dinner. So I'll try to combine things to get that price down so they get the cool thing and a nice dinner.
Yeah.
We usually do something kind of like this every run. It varies, but this time what we did is, if someone backs that tier, we will draw you on a cover with any character from the cast of SuccuBUSTED as you as a member of the DCIA, which is our fictitious demon police organization, arresting the character of your choice. That character will be naughty. You will not be. We don't do that. I always tell this story, but I had one of these once we did where a guy sent a message saying, hey, could you draw me and my wife on the cover if I back him? Yeah, we can do that. But real quick, you cannot have us draw you and your wife naked. Please don't send me naked photos of your wife or yourself. The character can be naughty, not you. Mm-hmm. Luckily, he understood that. I was like, okay, thank you very much. I appreciate that, because we don't want to get into what could potentially be a very slippery slope for drawing actual people naked.
Yeah.
So when we do this cover, you aren't naked, but the succubus or any character you want, can be a male character too, if it's your preference, will be naughty.
No,
and
that
that
is
becomes
awesome.
a one-of-a-kind, exclusive to you, drawn by Mitsu Blinger, the book's lead artist, and it will be colored by, I want to say that one's colored by Nico, who colors that one? I want to say, I forget who colors, Krias colors that, okay.
You also get 5 covers of your choice too, which is, I think, a nice little bonus.
Yes, well, we want to give people things they like, so I couldn't just say, oh, you only get 1 copy of the book that you paid for with a custom cover that you probably don't want to open because you want to keep that high quality to it, because now it's like a family heirloom almost, because customized of you. You can't get this anywhere else in the world. So we try to give people a few extras on that, make up for that. We had a thank you cover we did this time. That is an Ultra Naughty. Normally Ultra Naughties cost a little bit more than that. We marked them down for this campaign only as a thank you for us going as far as we have already so fast. We have Dakimakuras. Those became a very highly requested item by people, so we started doing those. We have some from previous campaigns that are not available on this one, but this time we have Aldi Fazan, who's one of our lead artists. He did that one of Rita. Aldi is actually a formerly published light novel author, as well as one of the gentlemen who used to work on the designs for League of Legends Southeast Asia.
Oh, that's so cool.
He's amazing, and you're going to see him as a lead artist in an upcoming series that will come out probably 2024. But he's already working on it, and it looks amazing.
Oh, you have a Rita mouse pad.
Well, we started getting requests from when we did Foxy Vacations earlier this year. People asked us if we would do mouse pads where the wrist bumps are the character's breasts. Like, well, people want that. Okay, we could do that. But SuccuBUSTED is about Rita mostly, so let's do the button instead. So we created those. People asked for it. Kickstarter does this very annoying thing where it doesn't show you add-ons how they've been sold. So I don't know. I cannot give an exact number on how many.
Actually, right here. So on the side they do. I want to say
they do for reward tiers, not add-ons.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Yeah, my apologies on that.
Because the add-on things are even kind of relatively new on Kickstarter. It's only been there maybe a little over a year, so they're probably still ironing that out. But
I love the little mouse pad.
I won't know until the campaign's over if that thing's been popular or not. And then we'll have them on the backer kit as well. We do those afterwards. So if we want to add on anything from the campaign, we couldn't get.
I'm gonna have to get like a Keeping It Geekly booty mouse pad. You know, I don't have a booty though, so it'll be flat.
That's why Rita exists, because she has plenty of that.
And then a standee as well. You have awesome add-ons. I am so jealous of your merch.
That's what our standees look like.
That is so gorgeous.
They're actually the plastic is super thick. You couldn't break this thing if you wanted to. We have a bunch of like that. We have some, these aren't available in this campaign. These are from other series that we have available. But those are about what you can expect for the acrylic standees. They are naughty and nice variants. And in Rita's case, her naughty one is full nude. It's the first time we've done a full nude one. Mostly it's just been topless. But Rita, as a succubus, doesn't really have any shame about being naked in front of anybody. So there you go.
Any symbolism behind the tattoo?
Yes, it's another one of those like popular tropes within the anime realm for whatever reason, for some female characters to have a tattoo with lower belly. In the case of the Universal SuccuBUSTED, what that is a magical contraceptive. It's a magical seal they basically put on themselves, both incubi and succubi, so they can't get pregnant. Now, if you see one who doesn't have that tattoo, that means they're actually looking to have children, which doesn't really come up very much in the first couple issues of SuccuBUSTED, but we maybe have a chance to kind of delve more into maybe demon culture later in later arcs. Because SuccuBUSTED, I was going to make it just it was going to be just a single arc and done, but it's proven so popular that the book's lead artist Mitsu Blinger and I have discussed we're going to do another arc with Rita and Liam after this story is finished, as well as a one-shot spinoff called SuccuBUSTED Queens that goes more into one of the B stories the comic actually tells about two other characters.
That is so awesome.
That book is planned to be the naughtiest one we've ever done.
So how many issues altogether would you say you have planned for SuccuBUSTED?
Right now it's set to 4. So issue 4 will be the final issue of this arc. I don't know how many the next arc will be yet because I haven't had a chance to actually sit down and put it on paper. It's been sketched. It's been, in a Word document wise, sketched out and how it's going to play out and who's in it and what the storyline is. But I haven't had a chance to actually write it yet because, again, unfortunately, 5% of what, if it's even 5% of what I actually get to do these days is write the actual books, which will change hopefully in the future. But right now I'm writing on Pure Intent number 3. And Pure Intent number 2 will be our first book coming out next year. Easily my most violent series I've ever done.
I love how like polar opposite these series are getting. I'm really a big fan of dark stories, dark violent stories. Not violence for the sake of violence, but kind of like Berserk, where that violence helps drive a point home for the reader. SuccuBUSTED has a couple of moments that can get pretty crazy. We'll see that more as the series continues. But Pure Intent is a total opposite tonal shift from this. So I don't really have a particular genre in itself that I want to stick to. I kind of like everything. So we'll do a little bit of everything. The only thing I don't really like, and someone out there is probably going to throw a brick at me for saying it, I don't really like slice of life very much. That's not one that I'll ever probably do. Solely because slice of life is based on real life, and I live in real life, and real life totally sucks. And I want to get away from this.
I don't like seeing things about the real world. I live in the real world, and the real world is complete ass, so I don't want to deal with that. I'd rather see a story takes place in a high fantasy universe, in space, an alternate reality where sexy demons come into our world, or something kind of like that.
So right here are the stretch goals. Of course, a lot of these have already been smashed. We have the Chibi QB sticker at 7,000, the Rita bookmark at 10,000, the Bleach at 12,000. Here, let me get you enlarged with that real quick.
Oh, yeah, that's the first stretch goal, the little Chibi QB stickers. art by Mitsu Blinger, is the book's lead artist. We had a Rita one we did last time. Now we have her big sister, Queen Besphera, or QB for short. We have art prints on there. We have a magnet. We have a double-sided door sign.
So what's that door sign? Is that something that like hangs on the doorknob, or?
Right, so you have hotels have that do not disturb sign you put on the door, just like that.
Okay, well, that's cool. I am so jealous of your merch. You have such awesome merch.
Thank you. I put a lot, maybe more time than I should, and then thinking about what we need to do with it and what is good. I'm sure every Kickstarter creator can tell you it's hard. Stretch goals are very hard. That's probably the hardest part of a campaign, I think, because what you're doing is you're increasingly giving it for free. Like, people don't have to pay for it. If you back something, you get these stuff for free. So the question becomes, what can I give people that's really cool, that enhances that value and is fair to people giving me their faith and money, but also is cost effective?
Yeah.
And cool and cost effective are not friendly terms to each other. Usually they are pretty much on the opposite side of the spectrum. But there are certain things that we've been able to find that people like that don't metaphorically break the bank and still give you extra cool stuff to have. And the cool thing about stretch goals is they're usually unique to that campaign. There are some things that we might sell later on. We have extras of it, kind of like the trading cards. We'll end up with extras of those, and we'll sell those at later dates. But things like the door signs, certain stickers and stuff, the magnets, we don't turn around and sell those. Well, we make a few extras, and those extras usually get divvied out either as random gifts in later campaigns to randomized backers, or we ourselves take them. Izumi and Brooke, two of my personal assistants. Brooke handles our Twitter. She set this up actually, and she's also handles our Kickstarter customer service. She's the raccoon girl, our company's mascot. And then Izumi, who is my personal mascot, but she handles our Facebook, Instagram, and our Discord fan server. She manages all that for me. And they'll take some of the merch sometimes. I'm pretty sure there's no room left on Izumi's bed from all the Documakras she has now, but she doesn't seem to be complaining about it.
And last but not least, we have at 31,000 the Ultra Naughty Queen of Lust Metal trading card too. So you can have the Queen cheer you on in her own naughty way.
That one's it'll be a metal trading card. I've never done a naughty trading card before. All of ours actually have been historically clothed. It'll be the first time we'll do that, and that is actually also a sneak peek at a cover that will be on this third issue of SuccuBUSTED, where it has some of our characters in pseudo Jacksonville Jaguar cheerleader outfits, minus the logo, and the colors are a little different just to keep us from getting in trouble, because something I have found out, where I used to work in sports, and sports companies are very, very, very strict about where their logo shows up, even where their color schemes show up. So we had the Jacksonville Kitty Cats cover that'll come out next time.
I love that.
The Jaguars, it's the Kitty Cats.
And of course, if you join the Discord, you can. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, you're good. You're good.
You join the Discord, you can get early access to exclusive covers, sneak peeks at upcoming books and content. You can chat with fellow pop culture fans. Chat with Izumi, Fox's.
Yep, this lovely lady right here.
Okay,
she's in there.
And then contest for free items and much more. You can, of course, get that by checking out the Kickstarter. Right here is the link for that. And be sure to back while you're there. Be sure to check it out and pick up an issue as well. So this is the Kickstarter in its entirety. Let's go ahead and begin wrapping things up. And I think the best way to do that is, Isaac, what would you like to say to anyone who might be on the fence about backing after kind of just going through the Kickstarter, looking at all the different awesome tiers and covers? You know, what would you be your one thing to say to them if they're kind of just on that fence teetering?
I'm going to cheat and say two things. The first thing being that even if it's not me, if you back an independent creator on Kickstarter or Indiegogo, wherever you go, you're making somebody's dreams come true. Hello, sweetie. You're making somebody's dreams come true. B, you're putting food on people's tables. There are people now who rely on me to do well on Kickstarter so that they can eat tonight and pay their bills. And when you back Kickstarter book projects, you're enabling that. You help people live. When you buy a book from Marvel or DC, which I still love Marvel and DC, don't get me wrong. I don't think you have to choose. You can love everything. But you're buying another CEO a golden toilet somewhere on an executive board. You don't do that with us. That being said, I wish I could afford a golden toilet, but I can't.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Maybe a golden cat bowl, right?
Oh, yeah, they'd be happy. The second thing I would say is why you should back SuccuBUSTED, because it's a fun story and it's enjoyable. we have gone very far out of our way to make sure this book is as enjoyable as it can be. The idea is that anybody over the age of 18 can open up a copy of SuccuBUSTED and just have a good time. The story has been praised. I have a hard time saying that because I'm the writer, and therefore I don't really want to say, the story is great because I wrote it. And I'm not going to say that, but people like the story, so it's the best I can give you. And the art is really fun, and there's a lot of really funny things that go on in the book. And if you've ever been to Jacksonville especially, you'll enjoy it because it takes place in the city, and we are not afraid to make fun of it the entire time, and that we do.
That's awesome. I love that a lot, especially when you were talking about the Jacksonville Kitties. I was like, maybe he's a sports fan, but the fact that it takes kind of like place in there, like I think that's awesome.
All the books that I do have a subtitle to them, and this is something I kind of more pulled. Our work is very heavily anime and manga inspired. I was told by my colleagues in Tokyo to not ever call my work manga, so I don't use that term. I just say it's manga and anime inspired. It's a Western comic. But we always put subtitles on there because a lot of manga and anime do that. Every episode has a name for the episode and so forth. So SuccuBUSTED #1 was Jackson Devils, which is a play on the Jaguars mascot Jackson DeVille. Book #2, Lusty Guardian Rita, is a play actually on the Sailor Moon Japanese TV show that was called Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon. And you'll see in this book, we have references to Sailor Moon because it is, without a doubt, the most famous of its genre. And anime was a huge inspiration for everyone on my team, myself especially.
Sailor Moon was a banger too. Like, I'll be honest, like that show was awesome, dude. Oh man.
Even like as a 13-year-old boy, I love that show. This is great. And the English opening they have for we got over here is still one of the best, like, to my opinion, anime openings I've ever heard. The Kickstarter video for this one actually has the first like 5 seconds as a gag of that theme, just enough where I can't get in legal trouble, but enough to enjoy it. It's very useful. There's a lot of those animes where, again, what really inspired me as a writer to kind of do what I do. But there are some things that I don't like that manga and anime do, some tropes that are annoying. And so I kind of pulled there from the Western side of comics. We have things that work really well in the stuff we do over here. I know at one point I would like to say is I know that officially last year was the first year in American history, supposedly, that manga outsold comics here on the home front.
That's what I heard, yeah.
I don't know if I'm okay with that or not, because while I definitely read more manga than I do comics, I don't know if I want to see us lose here. And part of my goal with this is the things that I do with my comics is to be like, hey, here's more American stuff that's more varied, more variety than what you're perhaps accustomed to. Because our work is very much kind of a fusion of the two ideologies. They taught us once when I was in the writing class that good artists borrow, but great artists steal. I didn't know what they meant by that. Now I do. It's not plagiarism, but it's like, that's a great idea. What can I do with that same kind of idea? Yeah. And I think since what we do is a little bit kind of like that. But and then anime and manga themselves have stolen heavily from Western entertainment, Disney especially, which I think anybody who does anything entertainment-wise is probably stolen from Disney. The person who taught me how to do business was Disney's previous executive. So at this point, I'm pretty convinced like everybody has taken something from them, and they take from everybody else too. But their lawyers are a lot more powerful than ours. So that's one reason I would say to back SuccuBUSTED is because if you like comics and you're curious about manga and anime, or maybe you're more of an anime manga guy and you're not a comic person, I think you're going to find that even regardless of which side of that fence you stand on, or if you're like me and you're in the middle of that fence, you're going to find something you enjoy. It's been a shock to me that I've had backers tell me, we don't read comics, but we read manga. My stuff's not a comic, my stuff's not manga, but you buy it. That's great. Why do you do that? What do you like about it? What can I do better for you? Kind of how we approach anything that our backers and customers say to us. I like to say too that I think we have the best backer support of anybody on Kickstarter, and I'm so super happy that if you go into our comment section on that Kickstarter, there are people in there praising our customer service and how fast we respond to messages and how we're willing to work with people. We have tiers and add-ons on this campaign that weren't ever meant to be there. They've been added because backers asked us to put it there from previous campaigns, or maybe combinations of items that are on this campaign now that aren't already in prepackaged combos. Because we create a prepackaged combo, like I said, that we can make it a little friendlier on the wallet in the process. So we always have to listen to backers to do that. And that's one reason why we end up with so many tiers sometimes. Because if someone messages saying, hey, I want a tier where you combine these two covers, but it's not available, I go, it'll be there in 5 minutes.
Boom, got you.
Right now. Yeah, we'll get it for you right now. Give me 5 minutes. If I'm available, I will make the graphic. And what'll happen is if we get that message, Brooke will call me, like, hey, this guy wants this combination. All right, cool. You know what the prices should be. Go in there and go edit it and add it, and I'll do the graphics and edit it tonight. And we'll do that all the time.
And I think that really goes to show you, you know, just taking that extra step to make sure you accommodate your customer base is gonna like pay for itself time and time again. I mean, what was the numbers on your on Succubus issue 1, if you don't mind me asking, Kickstarter?
You're asking me a question I don't have memorized, but I can have it up in about 2 seconds. Give me 1 minute. I don't. Succubus number 1 finished at 619 backers, and at the time was our highest funded book ever at $31,343, 639% over budget. And that's why SuccuBUSTED number 2 was like, okay, we have to do this. Fun fact, SuccuBUSTED number 3 originally was up in the air if I would release it next year or not, because the problem is I have now is when I do a book, I plan it out about 1 to 2 years ahead of time. We're scheduled out for the next 4 to 5 years of production, with the next year's production already done for the most part, outside of just colors. We're just wrapping up colors, both colors and a few guest covers. And even 2024 is already planned out, and I know what books are coming out that year. And I thought, well, SuccuBUSTED number 3, because I owe a new Pure Intent. Pure Intent number 1 was last year. I didn't put out a new one this year. I owe a new one of those. We owe a fresh Cremisi. We did Rebirth number 2. We had number 5 ready to go, and it's going to be the first ever full color Cremisi. But like, I don't have time. So I owe those. Like, well, SuccuBUSTED is really popular, so we can't do a year without it. We have to bring it back next year. So we're doing that, which means that Foxy Vacations then in turn takes a back seat. We'll have to come out either be late of next year or into 2024. Next, Foxy Vacations, for those who don't know, is our Naughty Pinup series, where the premise is that characters from across my multiple universes suddenly go some mystical place to vacation. The first one, of course, in true anime fashion, was a hot spring, Japanese hot spring, because every anime ever has the hot spring episode.
Yeah.
Either that or the beach episode, one of the two. You're going to have an excuse to have those characters in almost no clothing. So we did that for the hot spring for the first one ever. People loved it. It currently holds rank as our highest funded book with 480 backers, $31,593. Hope we can beat that out this time, but that's my highest one. So obviously I want to bring that series back. I was going to make it an annual pinup series, but it looks like it might be biannual. And the next one we're doing takes place at a fictitious adults-only naughty cosplay convention where wardrobe malfunctions not only accepted but are encouraged. So there's a lot of our girls and guys dressed as some of your favorite characters from across all geekdom, manga, anime, comics, video games, you name it.
That is so awesome. So Isaac, thank you so much for coming on here, breaking down SuccuBUSTED and everything in between. Before we wrap things up completely, though, I want to ask a little bit of advice from you for anyone who might be new listening, maybe even seasoned and just, you know, looking for some new advice in any different area. So with that being said, as someone who's like ran so many successful projects and balancing so much, you know, what would be your advice to someone who might be trying to do the same, balance like 2 different projects or balance, you know, something outside of just the one comic they're working on? You know, what are some of the tips that work best for you?
Well, the first thing I'd say is you want to do multiple projects at once like this. We have a therapist, you're going to need it. If you can't afford therapy, I hope you have a good coke dealer. You're going to need that too. I'm kidding on both of those. There's a lot of things I can say about this process and what it is. And there's things that there's lessons I learned that were harsh and roughly learned. And the reality of it is, unfortunately, pain is the greatest teacher we have. If you're trying to do this kind of stuff, I will tell you some things I didn't know going into it. One of those being that if you run out of money, you run out of friends. You have friends as long as you have money. And as soon as you make it, everybody comes running, and Uncle Sam especially. There's my negative advice. I'll finish up with something more positive. If you want to do this kind of stuff, just be prepared for the work involved and be prepared to be transparent and honest. If you have any kind of customer service experience, which I understand retail and customer service are easily the worst jobs you'll ever have. I've done them, I've managed them. If you've ever done those jobs or have those jobs, my heart goes out to you. Stay strong this holiday season. I know it sucks, but I believe in you. Those skills help out a lot. Learning how to handle making somebody happy, and learn to look at everything as an opportunity. I'll give you an example. I have only ever had one negative comment ever in the 5 years I've done this. So there was last year we said that if you lived in Australia, we couldn't ship you the books yet. We could hold it for you, ship when we can. And there are other creators who had parts of their Kickstarter explaining this. Most notably, Common America had a really good graphic on his campaign explaining why he wouldn't be able to do that through standard shipping means. And the reality of it is, we ship through USPS, which is the cheapest one. And for a while there, about maybe over a year, they wouldn't ship to Australia because of COVID-19. Everybody's favorite buzzword these days that we're all kind of sick of. And this guy, and we sent an update saying, hey, if you're in Australia, we aren't going to be able to get to you right now. We're sorry, we can't ship there. If you want to use a more expensive shipping service, you can contact us and we can work with you to make that happen. Because we use the cheapest one, that's why our shipping prices are lower. But if you're not okay with that, we're going to hold on to the book and we'll bring it to you. And we did have somebody immediately reply to that, complaining, that's BS. I ordered from Amazon and I got my stuff just fine, yada yada. Well, that's cool. I don't have the multi-billions of dollars that Amazon has to get on those big shipping routes across the world. So I'm sorry, I don't have access to that. I'm glad you think I have the money, but I don't. And we use that as an opportunity to be like, okay, this guy is mad, but we can respond. This is an opportunity to show how much we care about our backers. And we wrote up a response to that and explained why the way we were. We gave them a link to the exact part of the USPS website that said, like, hey, this is what's going on and why we can't do it. Provided all full transparency, and we're completely honest about it. Of course, never got a response to that reply, but that's a thing we like to do. Even if you have a backer message you, we had a backer tell us one time that he ordered a spot foil book that we did, and he bought it and didn't think it was the right cover. He sends a picture going, no, sir, that's the right cover. That's what you paid for. Because I thought the whole thing was full. I didn't understand. Oh, you know what? Maybe our graphic wasn't clear enough on that. I'm sorry for that. Maybe that's my fault. Maybe I didn't explain that properly. Tell you what, I'll send you an extra book as a thank you for bringing it to my attention. And I did. And that's kind of how we do our stuff. Now, after saying this, if I get a wave of complaints, this
oh my God.
I'm not doing that. Sorry. But that's kind of how we do things. If someone messages say they got their stuff damaged, if we get photographic evidence that that's true, we send you a new thing. We don't care. Like, all right, cool, boom, here's a new thing. And I'll probably throw in something extra for the trouble because I've caused you trouble now by the book getting there damaged.
I love that business model. That was, I had a podcast before this. We had a shirt business, and when me and that host broke apart, there were still obligations to be fulfilled. And I still had a reputation going forward, so it's like, okay, well, we either can be both be scum, or, I can just pay it out of pocket, get it taken care of, and have our people be happy because those people will be coming with me to the new podcast. And they did,
Yep. That would be the advice I'd put out there, is just take care of your backers, be honest, be transparent. Backers are an amazingly understanding group. They really are. Like I said, I had one guy ever be negative. Well, two, but the other guy it was silly. He was mad at us for not getting all of his books and commented on that. And I hate when people comment with questions or negative comments. Because, like, well, we don't see those very easily. Like, please send us a message. We'll help you. You just got to message us. The comments are easy to miss. Yeah. And so the guy sent that to tell us that and said, I never got my books. And I'm like, oh, really? Because we sent him a direct message and reply to the comments. Direct message contained his tracking number. We don't want to give that publicly because that has someone's address on it, and that's probably a breach of a lot of rules right there. So he said, hey, well, actually, we replied to the comment saying, actually, USPS says it was delivered. And I still remember this, at May 14th at 4:04 p.m. That's how much it stood up in my mind. I still remember that. Yeah. They said you delivered it. And then luckily this person replied saying, oh, you know what? You were right. I had it mixed up with some other books. Thank you so much. Like, see, that's an opportunity. This guy was mad. Yes. And if he didn't get his books, he had a right to be. But because we kept good records, which is, I'm using this as more advice, keep good records of everything you do. Learn to love spreadsheets. I know they're boring and they're not creative at all, but love the damn things. We were able to track that down. We got to the exact second that package was dropped off and where it was, and explained to him. And the guy went, oh, you know what? You're right. I made that mistake. And he was happy after that. And that, I think, is your job as a creator on Kickstarter, is make people happy. Yep. That's all I'm trying to do. The world is so inundated now with just attacks of negativity and darkness. I think we're getting worse about it. Like, it's just negativity and anger are really infectious in the sense they're the worst kind of food imaginable. And the more you eat of it, the hungrier you become. And you fall into a perpetual diet of consuming this negativity. We want to break that. And I think if my comics, if it's just a sexy story, if it's just the sexy artwork that gets you, that helps you break out of that cycle of negativity, or if it's maybe the lessons within the story, I don't care how it happens. As long as I can make your day better with what I do, I think I'm doing my job. That's why I think I'm here to do.
No, absolutely. Isaac, thank you so much for all the advice, coming on, breaking down SuccuBUSTED. Sorry about the mishap too. The interview was just so hot. They're like, man, it's about to get hotter. We need to shut this down now. So thankfully, we were able to get reconnected again. Thank you so much.
You said like I do. Your internet's fine until you go do something people can see you, and then it's like, oh, you know what? It's not fine now.
Yeah. Everyone watching, it's New Comic Book Day. There's the link. Be sure to back it. If you can't back, just simply put it out there. Word of mouth is 100% free. And, you know, get as many eyes on this project as possible. With that being said, I hope you all have a fantastic Wednesday, but most importantly, keep it geekly.